case which has been going on for the last few years. This morning, a senior official of the East Africa Development Bank, Eadb, Mr. Isaac Nyongesa failed to appear in court, and I would like to congratulate the magistrate for not being intimidated, and she has issued a warrant for arrest. Mr. Okwara and Eadb are charged with the offense of lying about me, lying about my children, and two of my companies. And they have lied so often that they even forget the previous lie. It was kind of funny to witness Senior Counsel Jambo saying that he does not lie, yet I am facing him at the Advocates Complaints Commission for having procured fake affidavits when actually a member of staff of Eadb, the Kenya country manager at that time, recounting the affidavits that they had filed against me in court and at the Supreme Court. So I want to be able to mention to you that what you're seeing is just the tip of an iceberg. On July 11th, 12th, and 31st, that is when the Kenya country manager put it in writing on oath and on cross-examination in the High Court that what they had filed at the Supreme Court and in the other courts, including in the UK, were fabrications. And indeed, we are at the High Court on an application on review of the matter, both in Kenya and in the UK. This report that they took to the DCI was that I'd sold charged property, that I'd stolen money from an escrow account, and that I'd sold, I'd got the money through false pretenses. I was engaged by the DCI, and you know how DCI engage people. They came to they ordered me, I had to appear at DCI at least 4 times. And I think I was just lucky that you guys were not there to see the number of times that was at the DCI, because that should have been headlines. What they hoped to achieve that time was to have me arrested and put behind some Land Rover and come to court on trumped up charges. But as I told you, they're not even good at lying. And that's why they find themselves facing criminal charges today. I've been informed that they have absolutely no answer to the charges against them, except that they claim they have diplomatic immunity. There is no provision for diplomatic immunity in criminal cases. You can't kill somebody and then waive the paper saying that you have diplomatic immunity so you cannot face charges. But that's the case for another day, and we are making sure that we join ourselves in the case at the High Court. The lies that they gave to the DCI, they did that also to entrench the lies that they had given in the courts. And indeed, I suffered unfavorable rulings by the Supreme Court because of these lies. The Supreme Court gave judgment against me based on the lies that now some of them they are facing criminal charges for. When it emerged in the lower courts, a whole bench of the Supreme Court could not face the shame of actually looking at an affidavit that was before them which had been recanted. So the Supreme Court recused themselves. And there's no precedent in the Commonwealth of a Supreme Court of 5 judges recusing themselves, because that case collapsed because the one person who had written the affidavit recanted it. And as I talk to you now, there is a filing that we made at the Advocates Complaints Commission because Cabinet Secretary, this senior counsel of Jambo, procured fake affidavits and had them stamped by a commission of votes in the absence of the person who they claimed was a witness. And that's why I would have been very, very disturbed if the magistrate did not order for the arrest of this person, because it would have meant that she believed Ujambo. Ujambo should not be believed. And I can say that, and I dare him, because we are meeting at the Magistrates Complaints Commission. I have applied to the Judicial Service, to the Chief Justice, that a panel be formed to investigate whether he should continue to be senior counsel or not. But I'd like to quickly go through some of this because the case is getting more and more complicated. It should be of interest that this case, Dari, is one of the cases which have been cited by Nelson Hardy as one of those cases where the judges should be removed. So this case has been cited as one of the reasons why those Supreme Court judges should be removed. I'd like also to tell you that on 3 occasions we tried to pay off whatever loan we owed Eadb. KCB came on board and they were ready to offer us the money, and Eadb refused. We got Bank of Africa, offered us the money to pay them off, they refused. We got an equity partner, offered $10 million to pay them off, they refused. Why did they refuse? They refused because the security that had given them, 27 acres of land in Karen with the developments that they have, was more money, was worth more than what I owed them. So it was in the selfish interest of some senior staff of Eadb that they auctioned, because then they'll make more profit. If I pay them off, then they're out of the deal. That is the only reason why I've gone through this. I've been forced to deal with crooks in the judicial system, but I must also say that I'm a great respecter. I respect the judiciary, because if the judiciary was not working, I would have lost my property. I respect the judiciary because despite the fact that we have some crooks in the system, it has been shown this afternoon that there are upright people who can follow the law. And that's why we have a warrant of arrest of senior Eadb official. So all of us Kenyans must do everything to guard the integrity and the sanctity of the judiciary, because that is the only last bastion in a democratic society when the executive goes rogue or when parliament goes rogue. I'm not addressing you guys so that you can sympathize with me. I'm addressing you because I'm not letting this go. And it is the responsibility of all of us. If this can happen to me, this can happen to me. I'm a former Cabinet Secretary. Fortunately, by God's grace, I have the wherewithal to put up a fight in the courts, at the JSC, in the UK, here today. It's very costly. What happens to the ordinary Kenyan who are facing this sort of thing? And that's why I want to announce to you, and I will send it out in a press release, that I am part of an initiative called the Land Protection Forum, in which anyone who has got this kind of dilemma of hard-earned family property being stolen from them through all these shenanigans We want them to log in, get in touch with that forum, so that if we're able to help, we'll help. And why am I saying this? I'm inspired because in 2020, when I had an almost fatal accident, I was in ICU, I was on life support, I was unconscious. These individuals at Eadb made sure that as I was in ICU, they sent auctioneers to take over my property, knowing fully well that they did not have any grounds, but they sent auctioneers. If I did not survive, my children, my family would have been dispossessed, my family would be destitute, and because by God's grace I survived, I am going to do my best to help any orphan, any widow, any helpless person who is being robbed of their land using tricks and treachery by some lawyers, by some auctioneers, by some judicial officials. This must stop. We cannot have a country which is run in that crooked way. That is all I wanted to announce to you today, that this is not going to end here with yesterday. Thank you very much. I can answer questions.
What is the...
Who was playing all this is, I can give the name because I have all the evidence that she did it. She's Vivian Eadb. She has since left the bank. Her term of service ended on 31st of December last year. So this January, she's not there. But she is. And you know all the scandals that she's been involved in. There was this strange money which went to Germany when she was also the head of the chairman of KPLC. Their things are even in Parliament. But she has some gatekeepers in Parliament who are making sure that those cases don't come up. But if you do your research, you should know the
Actually, I met her.
that he's a senior security manager at the bank, but he's the one who wrote all these allegations to the DCI, including an allegation that the evidence that I had given to the Supreme Court was stolen, that I'd stolen evidence from the Supreme Court. The DCI investigated and found out that these are contractual documents that I had legally. They are, what do you call it, there's correspondence which shows that I had the right to have those documents, contract documents, board approval documents, which I was able to explain how I got them. But when they said in court that I'd stolen those documents, the Supreme Court decided to say that they will not accept that evidence because I'd stolen it. What law is that? I'm a lay person. Because what the Supreme Court should have been asking is that, first, is it true? And second, how do you obtain them? They didn't even allow me to explain to them how I got those documents. And they made a ruling in favor of Eadb. But those facts which were in those documents that they claimed I stole emerged in a lower court when the official of the bank, the Kenya country manager, was put under cross-examination, and they found out that my narrative was the true narrative. And now this is subject to review at the High Court. I don't want to comment on it because you have to give the chance for the High Court to make a decision on this. Yes. Any other question?